Hello and welcome to another expert briefing. I am Tom Morgan, software engineer at Cloud Interact. We're going to be talking about communication APIs today, and I'm very glad that Sean's with us because there is no one better, I think, to talk about this. We're joined by Sean Keegan, who is a developer evangelist for Azure Communication Services at Microsoft. How's it going?
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Tom. Quite an intro. I feel special being the number one qualified person to talk about it.
I mean, you are on all the blog posts. I'm not sure if you write them all, but it's your byline. So
yeah.
So let's kind of start with a 101, right? Because I think straight off the block, I know it doesn't really matter, but I think it helps position for folks a little bit. You're in the Azure team versus the Microsoft 365 team, and I know there's a lot of interplay there, but we're talking about communication APIs, but this is like an Azure component, right? So
yeah.
So can you what are they? What are the communication APIs? Why do I care about them?
Yeah. So it in a way it's kind of like a broad, encompassing term. So when I say kind of communication APIs, what I'm talking about are kind of those building blocks that developers are going to use to embed different, for lack of a better term, like communication modalities. So think about like real-time voice, video, chat, email, SMS. Being able to take those building blocks or those modalities and embed them directly into your apps. So if you think about the infrastructure behind like a telehealth visit, you have a call with your doctor, banking alert, or like even just like that call us widget on a website, those are all kind of powered by communication APIs.
Right. So we're not talking about a product. It's more a set of capabilities for developers who are building their own solutions.
Exactly. Right. So yeah, we're not selling a specific product. It's like, here are all the tools that you might want to add this kind of, functionality into your apps. Like build your own product, and we want to help you make it as easy as possible to communicate with your users and stuff.
Got it. So I know, because I've been playing with this for I guess a few years now. Like we've had these things here, right? I know you can do chat, you can do voice, you can do video, you can do SMS, you can do email, you can do some other stuff. What's the big, like, what's the popular one? Like, is there a standout that, everyone is doing?
Yeah. So it's an interesting time because I think across the board, communication is getting easier to integrate, faster, especially when you layer in AI. But honestly, the biggest change I've seen is voice being used more and more, both in terms of quantity and quality. So I'll kind of just leave that out there. I'll let that hang and see what kind of follow-ups you have. But voice is definitely the one that I think is like the biggest change right now.
Yeah, and voice plus AI makes sense, right? Like the AI has got to the point where it's good enough, I think, probably, that you can like start to think about voice-led AI solutions, right?
Exactly, yeah. Right, so a few things have kind of happened, right? Like the models have gotten faster. They're more conversational. Streaming is simpler. And we can just keep AI in the loop throughout the entire process. Right? Think about like, I don't know, even let's say 3 years ago, if you were calling a customer support hotline and you get this like, press 1 for this, press 2, and you're just kind of stuck talking in this loop, and all you want to do is like connect to a human, and it's just like they're just stuck in these rigid things. They can't understand what you're saying. The ability for an AI agent, or we'll say like an AI enabled voice agent, to like actually process what you're saying, that just totally changes the game in terms of how you're interacting with these voice agents.
Yeah, totally. And is that where you're seeing a lot of growth, that kind of legacy IVR system transformation?
That's one of the like the biggest use cases, right? Is transforming that from that like rigid decision tree, right? And just being so stuck there. Now if like a voice agent were to ask me, like, what can I help you with? And you say, whatever, like I want to return something, or I need to change my flight, right? It can understand what you're saying and then like route you properly. And then it's just going to feel more natural. It's not going to feel like I'm talking to a robot that can't figure out what I'm trying to do or what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, totally. Okay. So how does that work? If I'm a developer and that's what we're trying to do, like that's what I've been handed down to me, like, go modernize the IVR system or go build a voice agent to help users complete a task. Doesn't have to be sort of phone led particularly. How do I do that? What are my options? Because I think there's a few different ways, right? There's a spectrum, like depending on like what type of developer you are. Let's start with the kind of, I guess, hands off to like more low code, no code, maybe not even a developer, maybe a power user, even just like, I don't know, a contact center owner who's fairly techie. Like where can those people go?
Yeah. So this is what's nice, right? If you're trying to stay in the Microsoft stack, building these voice agents, there really are multiple paths and like entry points into doing it. So if you want to stay in that like low code path, you want to move fast, right? So if you just want that like speed and governance, you can use Copilot Studio, and plus we'll say Dynamics 365 Contact Center. So you can get kind of that voice IVR, that omnichannel, like you can author your bot in the studio and hand it off to agents in Dynamics. And so Copilot Studio, if you're not familiar, right, it is like the low code, I don't want to say solution, but like the platform where you can create your agents, and you don't have to write any custom code. It's kind of just in natural language. You can use it to create an agent. And so from there, like there are voice features that let you kind of configure your voice, connect to Dynamics, and publish it. So teams can ship a voice agent without any sort of like pro code backend or tooling. So that's kind of like the easier way.
Powerful. I've seen that. It's super powerful. I think if you're using Dynamics today, if you've got 365, if you've got omnichannel, like you should totally be doing this, like at least trying it out and understanding it, because it is like relatively little effort. So it's definitely worth looking at for sure. Yeah. All right. So more on the pro side, or maybe you've done that and you want to take it to the next level, or you don't have Dynamics, so actually you want something that's a bit more integrated but not to Dynamics or something else. What's the kind of full out like pro code? We spoke at the beginning about like the communication APIs being a bit of a toolbox. Kind of what are the parts to that toolbox?
Yeah, right. Like the flip side, you're like, I don't want just like the out of the box thing. I want or need that custom control. Excuse me. So there are a few things you can do. Right. So Azure AI Speech, you can do, speech to text or text to speech. That can take the voice component, and there are a lot of custom controls that you can do with that, which I'll get into. You can pair it with Azure Communication Services and have that handle the kind of telephony and the call control.
So that's like at real phone numbers, right? Provisioned phone numbers, calling through, running some code, doing some things. Like, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then, from there, right, once you have kind of that baseline infrastructure set up, you can orchestrate everything with, the Azure Communication Services call automation, Azure Intelligence using, pick your LLM of choice, right? Azure OpenAI if you want to stay in the, Azure ecosystem. There's the Voice Live API, right? And so there's all these kind of tools and opportunities to, handle this voice and speech, right? And there's like the bidirectional audio streaming. So rather than, having to take whatever I'm saying and convert my, I always want to get it right. Like rather than having to convert my speech into text, sending my text to the LLM, having that analyze text and then convert that to speech, it's like you don't need to do that step anymore. You can just have the audio go back and forth between you and the LLM, and it can process and analyze on that.
And that's actually really important, because it's the latency that makes it feel like more useful as well. Like if you don't have that, you can do interruptions, you can change things quickly. Like it makes a big difference.
Exactly. And I think, for a while it before we had this vocabulary and these newer features, it was kind of hard to sometimes to pinpoint like, what is it about talking to a robot that feels robotic, right? Is those subtle things where like, if it's talking and I don't want it to talk and I interrupt it, like I want it to stop the way a human would, right? Like we just had a back and forth where like I was saying something, you started talking, and it's like, oh, that's my cue to like shush and listen. And robots like, or agents without kind of what we'll call it like barge-in capability, like it would just go, and you're like, just get me to a human, because this is killing me.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, it does make a difference. So, so there's lots of different approaches there. Like it really is a set of tools, and you can put them together in multiple different ways. which is kind of good for that pro coder. Like it's exactly what you want, and everything stays, in your Azure tenant. It's all kind of knitted together, so you've got like it, as opposed to having to kind of cobble it together from like different third-party solutions and then do InfoSec on all those things. Like at least if you stay within Azure normally, like IT are happy because it's you've already done Azure, right? So like everyone's happy.
Exactly. I think you nailed it. I just want to like put a fine point on it, Tom, because I think you nailed it. Of like, it really is this like toolbox that gets given to you, and you can kind of take what you need from it. And there's a lot, like any good toolbox, like it's going to have more than you need. So it's like pick what works for your solution if you go down that pro code route.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you options for the future as well, because obviously the tools are evolving also. So like new features get added all over the place, and you can lean into them and kind of consume them as you want. All right. So I do want to talk about Microsoft Teams, because I know a lot of people listening to this will be kind of Microsoft Teams folk. So this is not entirely separated out from Microsoft Teams telephony, right? There are some options for like crossover here. And again, there's a couple of different options. I know sort of there's a Teams premium kind of way of going down things as well that's kind of less developy, but it's like more out of the box, I guess. So that might be good to talk about first, and then we can come back to like, okay, if I'm a developer, where do I go?
Yeah. So, if you're thinking about kind of like the out of the box solutions, right? And this is like if you're approaching voice scenarios or, just in general, right? Like you can go with that built-in experience for speed. Like that's what you're going to get with Teams Premium. It's kind of that out of the box solution. And right, you're going to like, it's going to help because you're going to minimize, like if you don't need like a lot of customization, Teams Premium is going to be your friend, right? You're going to get virtual appointments, SMS reminders, the scheduling baked in, right? So if your customers want to, book a slot with your doctor or an agent, whatever, they'll get a Teams link, join from a browser. Your staff can answer in their familiar client and the familiar Teams client. And there's just like, you don't have any custom development. So this is perfect for, whatever, like clinics, law firms, whoever. They just want to be able to have it easily set it up.
Yeah, I was going to say it's ideal. But I think a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of that communication API stuff under the hood that makes that happen. And the only reason for bringing it up at all is that actually it means that as a developer, you can do some of that same stuff yourself if you want to. And that's not necessarily like you should or not. It's very much a choice, right? Because if you don't have any developers, go down the Teams Premium route. If you've got a bunch of developers and you don't want, like for whatever reason, you can't, or you're not doing Teams Premium, you can, or you need more customization or whatever, you've got the option to kind of roll your own essentially.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what we call that like that Teams interoperability side of things, right? Where you can use Azure Communication Services plus this interoperability to create that branded experience, right? You need more custom control. You want it to look and feel like your platform, right? But you still want that familiar, portal for your team, right? You still want people to be able to answer in Teams, right? That's where ACS and that Teams interop is going to come in.
There's a thing here as well that's like on the down at the architecture layer. There's a lot of commonality between Teams and Azure Communication Services as well, right? It's all those communication APIs that sit on top of it. It's all the same thing, right? Which is why the interop's so good.
Exactly, right? It's not. It's exactly right. It's not this like hacked together third-party solution, right? It's like what we've done is taken. Use that word I used before, like these modalities and like the functionality that powers Teams, and we just made them available as a series of APIs and SDKs. So, right, it is this like enterprise grade, solution that you have the option. Like, I don't need all of Teams. I just need whatever the calling, or I need, pick a specific functionality. Right, pick what you need. Again, we'll go back to that toolbox analogy. Take the piece that you need. But again, it's not like a hacky thing. It's very much the same functionality, powers LinkedIn video, powers Teams, and you'll just be able to use that in your application the way you need.
Yeah. No, I've played with this a lot, and it's really powerful. Like you can, if you want a solution where you've got half the people using the Teams client, half coming in through some white labeled WebRTC experience, because it's a nicer customer experience, you can do that. If you want to create a custom Teams client, you can do that. Like you've got so many options. It's a whole thing. Like we should do I think we're going to do like a deep dive briefing just on Teams interop, because it is a whole thing. But yeah, it's like the point of this bringing it up now is so you know what's available, you know what's possible, and yeah, you know what you can do. All right.
So is that a teaser, Tom, for a future episode? Perhaps Teams Interop.
You heard
Pro?
it here first. You heard it here first. We're going to figure it out and we'll work it out. But no, it'd be good to kind of deep dive on that, because yeah, you're right. We could definitely talk for 15 minutes just on Teams interop. Right. Without wanting to keep this too long, we should talk about some kind of examples. And as we've gone through, like we've called a few out, actually, healthcare being like the canonical example, right? Like, you know, the kind of virtual meeting. And it's such an obvious one, but it's such a useful one as well. And actually it's encouraging to see it starting to come like in the real world. We do see it. So that's really good. There are like, what other ones are you seeing though, like out in the world?
Yeah, you kind of nailed it, right? Like healthcare is the one that everyone talks about, because I think especially during COVID, right, we got so used to like, you know, we're having video calls, so like we're used to that flow. But think about like a retail example, right? Like I'm calling an agent, all I want to do is talk to a human, but you know, I ask it, I'm getting frustrated, and I say like, where's my order? Like this is frustrating. Like when you layer in AI to those kind of experiences, right, it can detect frustration, right? It's gotten so good at sentiment analysis. I don't know that like tone necessarily would be, picked up, but like there's enough where it can, you know, if it has the context, like it can transfer you to a specialist, you know, with that context. And I think that's just really nice, right? Like if there's a risk of churn, right? Like in these retail situations, I think post call, right? Like you have these transcripts, and this is something I see a lot. This has come up for me in customer calls, where having the transcript is kind of like table stakes these days, right? Like that speech to text and getting the transcript of your calls, everyone does that, but not everyone does something with that data, and they're kind of gold mines if you think about it. But you know, say you're a call center, you have 10,000 calls a day, or retail support, customer support line, you get 10,000 calls. Like you can't go through all those transcripts, but AI is really good at reading those and extracting the right information and pulling out, you know, the information you need. And there are ways you can do this with, you know, you can force structured outputs. It's like, I want sentiment, and I only want you to tell me that it's one of these three things, and have that mapped to like whatever you need to put into your CRM. Like having that one-to-one pairing, like let the AI do that hard work and just add in like the human context where needed. Like that's something that I'm seeing people do, is like, what do we do with these long transcripts?
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's cool. Really cool. All right, we're coming to the end. So things to think about are kind of from our conversation, I think. It was interesting to hear that sort of voice is having its time in the sun, I think. And that gels with like what we see in the AI space as well. So that's kind of interesting. And it's kind of good to know that there's solutions at every tech stack level. Like you don't even have to be particularly developer-y to kind of lean into this stuff. So if you're an IT pro listening and you think like maybe this isn't for me, that's not true at all. Go check it out, because there's lots of stuff there. And then the Teams interop, Teams integration stuff, so much stuff you can do with that. So we're going to come back to talk about that. All right, real quick before we go, where should people go if they want to find out more?
Yeah, great question, Tom. I'll share some resources to, you know, some of our like sample voice agents that use real-time, you know, audio streaming APIs. So if you wanted to put that in the description.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah. I'm not going to say the full URL. I hope people follow along there.
They need the AI with the transcript to take it all down. Perfectly.
Exactly. Like Azure AI speech, just because we talked about voice stuff so much, I think that'd be an awesome spot to go to, you know, just get, you know, voice and streaming guidance. And then if you're interested, I think folks should try Copilot Studio. It's a great low code way to get exploring building agents and stuff.
Definitely. I've been looking at, even if you're a developer, go look at it, because it like makes proof of concept so much easier. And so you can get through that. Like, should we even be working on this as a project? Like do a proof of concept, get it out to the business, get that feedback, iterate, go from there. So, yeah. Brilliant. Sean, thanks ever so much for your time. It's been really, really useful.
Of course. Yeah. Thanks, Tom. Glad we made it happen.
Thanks a lot. You've been watching another expert briefing. Thanks for watching.
Bye all.